Hi everybody, how are you? Hi, and welcome back to my channel. I think I've turned the air conditioning off now. So, are we ready for some more swords and what they are doing? Just before I begin, I'm going to play you this link. If you do want to join me as a guest, here is the link. So with no further ado, let's jump straight into that and I'll be back with the Eight of Swords. Hello, how lovely. We've got Carla Kendall. Hi, how are you? Lovely to have you back with us. So we continue through with the Sword family, Eight of Swords. Passionate Saji, hi, how are you doing? Good to see you. Hope that you are able to grab a piece of what this one's all about, because there's quite a few things with this card. So, the Eight of Swords shows a woman standing bound and blindfolded with the Eight of Swords surrounding her. And this woman is dressed in an orange, reddish dress with very pale brown shoes. So the colour of her dress suggests enthusiasm, power, action, and optimism. Yet she looks far from empowered and optimistic and shows little actions because she has bindings on her that restrict her. Her shoes show her fully aware of her predicament, with the brown earthy element stuck within watery emotions. And in some versions of this card, her shoes and undergarments are also slightly orange, symbolising a lack of physical and mental energy. Her clothes reflect what she hopes for herself, yet feels unable to attain. And yet, she is psychologically trapped by her own restricting beliefs. The fabric that's used to bind her is loose, so she can remove it. But it matches the dark grey of her undergarment, yet like the couple in the Devil's card, she is staying firmly fixed in that place, rather than setting herself free. She's bound by a deep fear of moving out of her current situation, and so the blindfold is creating fear of the unknown, and issues are exaggerated in her mind. It's covering her third eye, and that's leaving her blind even without her intuition. So no intuition, she can't see, and she cannot hear. So her fears will be heightened now. Yet the ties that are around her body could so easily be removed. She could also walk away from this situation, as her legs are not bound, but there's a swamp in front of her, and without sight, she fears falling and making things worse. This is leaving her mind tied up in knots. Now, the blindfold may stop the truth from being seen, and the way that's out of this Eight of Swords, but it feeds her limiting self-belief about being powerless. They're grey and is bringing deep thought as she ties herself up in her own problems. So someone or something has bound this lady mentally. Remember, it's swords. So it's allowing a problem to take authority into her mind and tying her to her situation. She feels perplexed, helpless, inadequate, and unable to make any changes. If we look, we can see behind her the tide has gone out, leaving her standing in rivulets of remaining seawater, mud, sand, all bogged down with static emotions. She could drown in her own feelings, where the tide returns and her thoughts trap her in this place. The muddy sand represents her lack of footing and stirs up shallow emotions. And this prompts fear and creates a cycle of negative emotions, followed by disempowering thoughts. The ebbing current of the tide shows the bulk of the emotions. Remember, water represents our emotions. And there's more of a niggling fear of the what ifs and the maybes as she's trying to avoid her problems. It's created a panicked hurdle within her life. Algae has started to form, leaving her shallow waters prone to stagnation, as if she's actually waiting for someone to come and save her. So behind her, if we look, stands a castle representing safety, comfort, success, but she's got her back to it and she's not seeing it and she's not facing towards it. Now that castle is high on the rocks, so she may perceive the journey back as too complicated and hopeless. Ah, hi Zoe, how you doing? Lovely, lovely, lovely. Oh, passionate subject is going right into this. Wow, fabulous. Thanks, girls. Absolutely lovely to have lovely Zoe and passionate Saju. Hi. So, bit of a miserable card, this one, isn't it? This is a card that relates back to the Two of Swords. And if we think of that card where we have Our Lady with her arms bolt upright, holding two swords up, and the strength to do that, and the determination. But at that point, this person could have dealt with things. The Eight of Swords comes about when we don't deal with matters at the Two of Swords. It's the progression from that particular point, that indecisiveness, that kind of all tied up in knots, not knowing which way to go, getting yourself into a point where you can't call a truce with yourself, you can't do anything. So mentally is swords, and this is where our figure is showing that her inner doubt can tell her it's impossible and she won't be able to make it. So she's separated from her place of safety. She's nowhere near the castle. She's isolated herself and she's unable to see beyond her current situation and beliefs. And that looks as if she's worried, as if, what am I stepping into here? It could be worse. It could be swampy. It could actually be quicksand. It could be that, I could go straight down and I don't know how deep it'll be. And what's in that? What's that stagnation? And how am I going to get into that? But she could easily just step back and very carefully try and free herself using the blade of the sword to set herself free. So the sword is forming a prison for her, and thoughts are hemming her in and trapping her or stopping her from looking to where she would rather be. This represents limiting beliefs, leaving her psychologically confined, powerless, stuck, unable to challenge her own beliefs. And the swords are planted in a set of 1 at the front, then 2 on the left side, and then we've got 5 on, as we look at it, the right side. So she's standing between the failure of the 5 of Swords. Remember the bullies, feeling that we are being excluded, and the avoidance of 2, like I mentioned, and with the reality and the truth of the Ace of Swords, which is right in front of her, that she's totally ignoring. Okay, I'm going to have a sip of water. I'm melting here. I've got fans and air cons, but today I didn't manage to pop them on before I came on. So sorry about that. I'm knocking my chair into my desk, moving my set. Sorry. Let's go back into the fact that she's a victim. She's grounded in her fears, which will prevent change and movement. And her fears are what's causing her to feel that she's in jail. So they're the greatest jailers, her own fear. And that's keeping her confined in a prison of her own making. So sometimes if you watch on Tuesday, everybody, when we do pairs and I show you my method, we'll be looking at what does this card mean when we fuse it with a major arcana card, and 22 different meanings for this one particular card. Therefore, we are in a position to learn more about what that card actually means and how to read it. So don't miss Tarot Tuesday twists. And if you don't know anything about me, my name is Anne-Marie. I'm Tarot with Anne-Marie, and I teach courses, and I have been teaching people tarot for too many decades to mention. And I have taught tarot in a very different light. I have been empowering people on their own spiritual entrepreneur path to be the person they want to be, not to liken yourself to anyone else, not to actually turn around and do things in a certain way, but I teach you a system. With that system, it's up to you. Once you know that system, you know how to read tarot, and not just, here I have the Hermit or anything like that, and it just means you're alone. What does that tell you? You need to know so much more. The background of this is really interesting because at times it will appeal to you intuitively, logically, and if you actually use the pair method, which is just a tiny piece, tiny piece of the method that I use to teach you how to read tarot like a professional, and that's all I teach. It's up to you what you want to do. Nobody's forcing you. But it's aimed at that level because I had a platform of tarot readers, psychics, and I was able to empower them to have their own career, do their own thing, work for somebody, work for themselves, whatever they wish to do. Why? Because they have the skill and the complete foundation of how to do a professional reading for somebody that's asking for a certain period of time, maybe half an hour, whatever. And they were able to deliver that by using a system. You've got to have a system if you want to be a professional. Yes, your intuition will come into it, but there's so much more to it than just actually thinking, I'm going to get a customer and they're going to love what I do. Okay, my voice is going a little, folks. Bear with me. I'm going to play you this, and then we'll come back to the Eight of Swords. So, here we've got the intermediate course that I was telling you about. And I'm turning that down a little bit, sorry. So this is the intermediate course, and this is my signature course, part 1. And this is where you learn an extended Celtic cross with a very, very different way. It's not what you would have seen before, but you'd be familiar with it if you've looked at the Celtic cross. So this is the one that you're looking for. If you're not sure of your cards, there's tons more on there, different courses, the swords, the wands, the court cards, all separated, mini courses. Go and do it however you wish, okay? And this is where you'll find it. On my website, tarotwithannemarie.com. And as I was saying to you, there on the top, after home, second one along, that's the courses, all right? So, melting away. Okay, so this woman in this card is trapped by her mental processes and she's inactive now. So intellectually, because swords is how the mind is working and our communication, and intellectually she is stuck, even though she could move if she chooses to. So the swords do not fence her in. You can see that. So she could leave them through the opening in the front of her, or simply pull them up out of the sand. It shows a time when perhaps our figure believed her own negativity and allowed others or her own beliefs and narrow opinions to control the world in which she lives in her mind. Now, if this comes up for you, it might make you feel like you're frozen in place and powerless too. Scared to make any moves. We've all been trapped because the mind is telling us everything's going to fail. But the magic of this card often comes from the form of outside help and being helped by others. So all is not lost. Why? Because we can be inspired by something that someone has said to us. And the number 8 represents change, challenge, honesty, and determination. So we can feel trapped, powerless, unable to make changes, and even victimized. And that can make us further disempower ourselves. We see no way out of a situation as we see it, and we listen to our fears. That's when we're imprisoned by them. When this card comes up, it's a time to ask for help and take it if it's offered, because the insights from another person can help you move away from your own self-imposed limitations. So it's about letting go of our restraining fears that stop us being happy and moving forwards. The 8 of Swords brings a time when you will feel trapped and unable to move from your difficult circumstances. And that can make us feel that we are restricting all of the possible incoming opportunities. Because what we're saying is, no, can't. And the situation exists because you tell yourself it does, which leaves us having a problem. And regardless of how many big monsters and outside forces and fears and expectations and worries that keep you stuck, you will be able to make decisions. It's only the fear of failure, because all you can actually see is problems and things that are actually in your way or holding you back. Yet, if you look, there is a pathway. You could cut yourself free by stepping back and very gently feeling away with the sword, the blade of it, to cut those ties, release the hands, take off the blindfold, and not step into the swamp. So when you get this card, it's not a time to pass blame, because, as I said earlier, we've caused the problem ourselves by embedding ourselves into negative thinking, usually while trying to avoid an emotional situation and not tackling the outdated beliefs that we have. This is a difficult card because it shows a need for personal honesty and a realization that you are the roadblock, that you're looking for the answer. It's you. You're the one that's standing in your own way. And this card represents us being our own worst enemies, trapped in a situation that's destroying your confidence, your self-esteem, your happiness. So quite often when this card comes up, you will need help from another for that perspective, so that you can see that things can be changed and they are better than you think. So it's about taking a break from your situation so you can focus on what's holding you back. And remember, this is a build-up from the 2 of Swords. So when that comes up and you're sitting on the fence of indecisiveness, you really need to not stay there for too long. Otherwise, it becomes like this, and you're imprisoned in your own self-limiting beliefs and your deep fears. Self-imposed boundaries can be broken, but that means letting go of those limiting beliefs. Often we can see ourselves as being a victim, or we're numb and we feel that we've got nothing more left, and so, we're defeatist, and we feel persecuted and imprisoned by our own issues. Another aspect of this card is, if we look at what's around it, we are in a position to say it's entrapment, restrictions, powerless. Those things keep us in confinement, keep us in a bind, we're fenced in, restrictions, stagnation, like the swamp, dilemmas. We turn everything into a crisis. But really, will it matter in 100 years? If you say that to yourself, it's like, no, it's just today and tomorrow and this, then you know the answer, but something has to change. And if you always do the same, you'll always get the same. So this is about confusion, and it's definitely someone that's not focused. When we've got illusions and delusions around us, we are not perceptive. And so we feel incarcerated or in prison or enslaved, and I'm trapped, unable to face any of my problems, can't see a way out. No options, our hands are tied, we're blocked in a corner. Self-sabotage really is what happens here, which makes us feel that we're helpless, that we're a victim, that we are being disempowered, that we are in a place of persecution. So those negative thoughts and self-imposed restriction form that victim mentality, because our own self-limiting beliefs are our biggest inner critic. And so we need to release negative thoughts, open to new perspectives. Often when this card comes up, it's a real need to gain perspective from someone else and to ground yourself. Ground yourself, just as in go for a walk, be out in the fresh air. One of the greatest places you could go, if you're lucky enough to live near a beach, is walk on the beach, because you've got it all then. Why? You've got the sun, which is fire, for action. You've got the air, it's there, it's fresh, and that will help clear your blockages. And you've also got the groundedness of the sand, and that represents being grounded, earthed. And you've also got the water, which is allowing your emotions to, you have to honor them. You have to honor how you're feeling. But like the tide, they come in and go out. So when we look at this card, we see a woman that's bound and blindfolded. And those 8 swords that are surrounding her feel like they're trapping her in place. And they're symbolic of limiting thoughts and beliefs and the mindset that prevents her from moving on. If she removed that blindfold, she'd quickly realise that she can escape. And she can get out of this predicament by letting go of her own limiting beliefs. And then she's going to be able to empower herself with a new mindset. That water that's pulled at her feet, and I mentioned being near the sea. When we're around water, it sparks our intuition. And so that pulled water at her feet suggests that her intuition might be able to see what her eyes can't. No? So that's the significance of that water. And the 8 of Swords reveals that your circumstances trap and restrict you. You will believe your options are totally limited and that you need a clear way out of this situation. It might be that unfulfilling job, an abusive relationship, a significant amount of debt, or a situation that's way out of alignment of your inner being. And so that's where you feel trapped between a rock and a hard place, as the expression goes, and no resolution available. However, look, we can escape if we want to. It's fear that traps us. And we just need to remove that blindfold. And we can do that by using the sword to cut the mind and get rid of all of that. Everything is being held back mentally. So it's mentally, there's nothing physical about this. I appreciate it's maybe a very real situation. You know, when this comes up in a reading, it is a warning that your beliefs are no longer serving you well. And you might be overthinking things, creating negative patterns. And, you know, you're limiting yourself by only considering the worst case scenario. You get stuck in it, and more problems, more this, more that. And the more we think about the situation, the more we feel stuck and without any options. So it's really a kind of saying, go outside, get out of your head, and let all those thoughts and beliefs that's holding you back wash away, roll away. That's a great question. Why is that castle so big in the card? Well, it's because it really is about the fact she's got that security behind her, and it's far bigger than her, and it grounds her. It's her domestic arrangements, it's home. It's there for a reason, and it's what she's built. If you look, it's kind of on a cliff or, you know, side of a hill, and that represents that it's, you know, that's what's more important. It's groundedness. We wouldn't have a building in there. We wouldn't, you know, if it was dire, we'd kind of just have water everywhere and her kind of in it. But that castle represents her safety, her domestic sort of arrangements, home, everything that she's forgetting about, the safety. You know, when we've got a home, we've got a place that we can actually rest our head and hopefully have something to eat, and hopefully our hygiene, our personal hygiene is, we can take care of it. You know, we can wash, we can bathe, we can shower, whatever it is. But it represents the fact that that's what she's forgetting about. All the great things, just obsessed on this one particular thing. And, you know, even a castle, even if she's got debt, she could sell it, okay? Or she could rent it out. If it's an abusive relationship that's there, leave that security behind. But I don't think it is, because, as you mentioned, you know, why is it so big? It's big in her world. It's important to her. But if she's thinking, well, there's an abusive relationship there, I'm just saying it's one of the things that we talked about. It doesn't mean it is. It's possibility of several scenarios. But if it was that, she could still turn around and say, you know what? My personal mental freedom is far better than that castle, if that's where there is something that is not making her feel happy, or she feels trapped, if it was that. And we'd only know that by the major card, and we'd only know that by its position. And just those two cards, we would need to look at the surrounding cards in the spread. But yes, it's representing her security and what she has. You know, it's got a roof on it, a red roof. So red's representing passion, energy, drive, even her dress. She's not powerless. Unfortunately, you know, this is the mindset, forgetting everything and dwelling on something that, yeah, you can control it. Once you actually make a decision not making a decision. That's why I say to you, it's moved on from the Two of Swords. Okay, I'm going to play this for a minute. So, podcasts. We've got podcasts now. Learn Tarot podcast. And this is what it looks like. So there's the playlist in Learn Tarot, which is Thursday nights, as in we are in that session now. This will be added to the whole podcast list. There are playlists, of course, on my channel, and you can find my channel here. There I am. You can find everything you're looking for. So I've worked very hard at trying to get a library together for you so that you can find all of your cards in depth, one by one, just in the way that we're doing it. And so we've still got a lot to go, a lot of minor cards. We are getting through them. We've done the 22 major, and we are now at card 8 out of the swords. So, hope you like that, and I'll be showing you the other podcast and playlist, so you should be able to find that at any time. These tutorials are here to give you that support, particularly if you're doing the courses, being able to talk to a community that, frankly, it's been in the right community, isn't it, that you just feel you can just... Why am I here? Well, because I want to actually grow as a reader. That's it. Nothing to prove. I just want to do it. And I really am aiming at, wanting it in my life as a profession, a paid profession. And that is where I come in. Okay, I've dropped my cushion, so give me a moment. This chair. The story of the chair. So, got the money back, but can't get a chair, so I'm stuck with this one. It's just, I can't move it forwards. I've worked out why. I took my carpet away today. There we go. So, if you change your thoughts, you'll change your reality. And the only way to do that is to actually change your environment. And I'm a really big fan of outdoor walks. Because, as I said, you have all the 4 elements, no matter what zodiac sign you are. And stay with me because I've got news, a little bit more news of astrology. So I'd like you to stay with me until the end and I'll show you that. So, also, excellent sort of article that I've added for you this week in the blog, all about if you are feeling the imposter syndrome of being a tarot reader. And I kept it very short, a 2.5-minute read, I'm sure. Some tips on there for you. When people come along and you say, what if they say this and what if they say that? And I bet they're thinking this, exactly like this card. Right? Because what we do is we limit ourselves. I'm not good enough. What if this? What if somebody says, oh, are you a psychic? Oh, why do you charge? Isn't it a gift? Why are you asking me a question? You're the psychic, you should know. Go and read that blog and save it, because it's very helpful for you to actually feel that you are not a victim. I love what I'm doing, but I'm too caught up in my own restrictions of, I think I better keep, my castle behind and my day job to pay for it. And I am putting a load of obstacles in the way of my spiritual entrepreneurship as a tarot reader because. So I forgot to mention that. I will actually be bringing that on. I just had so much to add this week because I've been busy. And yeah, you've got your podcasts and you've got your playlists. So, I've edited them so that we haven't got all this stuff of chit chat in between. All the stuff's been cut out. Oh, really, I think that comes from, and you've called yourself passionate, Saji. I think that comes from your passion. You know, what I would suggest is pop on the website and have a quick look at your natal chart. That is something, you see, finding out what components go where. You're not just a Sagittarius, you're so much more than that. You've probably got, so much going on. But I've told you all I'm doing astrology. And so, excuse me, I've got to have a drink. I'm sweltering, sorry. That'll teach me to put the air conditioning on in the studio an hour beforehand. If you are your own biggest critic, it's probably because you are passionate and you care very deeply. And, I've written quite a few articles and blogs that will be coming up. So keep an eye on the website. It's not just about this. The courses are there for you. Passionate Saji's done the courses, and she's moving along. And it takes time. No one is an expert in everything to do with tarot. So, when that question comes, are you psychic? We're all psychic. But if you use that skill and you study, and you're not just using your intuition, you're reading books, you're doing my courses, and you are using a system, and you are saying, right, this is for me, I'm not, and the reason I say that is, I've tried everything over the years. I've been a professional reader for 30 years, and, I've helped people that fear imposter syndrome, and just said to them, be you. We do not don't think the causes are, I want you as a mini version of me. Absolutely not. I would never have hired anybody to be mini versions of me. They couldn't be. I've got my own personality, they've got theirs. We want that authentic you, but we want you to be able to say, you know what, I know this is what this card means, and I know how to read it because of the combination and because of the position. And, I really do wish, passionate Saji, that, we could sort of see you. Great, you've looked at your natal chart. Okay, so do you know the three that are really important? Okay, the three that are really important are your sun, okay, and your moon and your ascendant. Okay, so do you know what they are? If you do, pop it on here and we'll look it up. Okay, so I'll just carry on for a moment. So as we change our thinking, we change our reality. And as I said, going outside and grounding yourself and replacing those negative thoughts with positive ones and creating a more favourable situation for yourself. The Eight of Swords can do all sorts of things and cause this mighty negative mindset, which makes us go, oh gosh, I can't, I'm trapped. I can't move on, I can't do this, and because of this and because of that. So, we've got to look at others helping us. We can't do everything on our own. Even hermits, they appeal to nature, to the divine, to the universe, to God, spirit, whatever they are looking for. And so once we speak to others, they might offer a completely different perspective, which is an alternative solution for you to explore. So it's being open to finding the answer rather than getting stuck in the problem. So, if you say, oh gosh, I'm my own worst critic, and, I was too, remember feeling completely intimidated by certain psychic fairs and events, and I would never try, and I used to go around and look and listen to what they're saying, and I would never turn around and challenge anything. But you know, it doesn't need to be like that, and just because they're like that doesn't mean you have to be, and that's the difference. You're you and they're them. Okay, so Sun, Saggy, Moon, Capricorn. Wow. Rising Taurus. So 2 lots of Earth there. You know, Taurus is, that's where you're grounded, your stability. Now, this is where it gets interesting, all right? There's so much I could tell you there, but I will keep it brief. Okay, quite simply. The moon, everybody, if you look up your moon, is where you feel emotionally content. Now, if you look at your sign, like Passionate Saggy is telling us, hers is Capricorn, you know, you're comfortable in a place where it's all about work. So Passionate Saggy, Capricorn is the 10th house. It's about our status and it's about our reputation. And Capricorn, what do they do? Okay, quite simply, you know, it's in Capricorn represents the fact that we see something and we go, right, let's say it's tarot. There's tarot, and, you know, look at my camera. Okay, there's tarot here. Okay, put it up here. And I'm here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to climb that step by step by step to get there. Why? Because you're not doing it for yourself. You may think you are, but a moon in Capricorn is not. It's about the tarot. It's about the need to, your moon, your emotional side. Your emotions are what helps you feel comfortable, or where you relax. So for you, it's nothing to do with you being your sun sign. Where you are comfortable, if you've got Capricorn moon, it's about being able to say, it's about climbing that mountain, whatever that is, it's going for that goal. Okay, so in actual fact, your sun is, that's kind of, you know, how you're going to go about it. And so your sun, it's like, how do I climb that mountain? We'll say for tarot, and we're talking about that. How do I climb that mountain? The Capricorn moon is, I want to get there. Emotionally, it's a need in you. And you're comfortable there. You're comfortable not being at the top, going with the slow climb. You're comfortable. And what I mean is, it suits you, it's good. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's absolute, everything that is done, step by step, gets there. And you might say, oh, I'm not worried. I just know that's how far I could get. I could get there. I'm going to see if I can get there. And that is what your moon in Capricorn is. And your sun is Sagittarius, which is fire, and it's the 9th house. And so what you're looking at doing is achieving that through knowledge, through education, through different cultures. And cultures in tarot is attached to, you might like the school of thought, you know, as in Buddha, or you know, you might look at Hinduism, you might look at all different faiths and Sufis, you know. Does this make sense to you? Yeah, absolutely. You see, so how you're doing it is through your sun sign, your education. And probably what you're doing is you might be looking everywhere and getting confused, but that's what I'm saying. The cultures are, and you know, where does it come from? You know, some people are, oh, I don't want to know all that Egyptian stuff and blah blah blah. Some people are like, I don't want to do tarot, but I want to know where it comes from. I want to know the history. We're all different, and that's what, you know, when you find your little tribe. And I'm here to have a tiny little group of people that are saying, I just want to grow and climb that mountain, but I want to know that I'm good enough to actually making it to professional level. That's what she does. This works. That's how it works. And that's what I do. And I don't pretend to turn around and, I've written articles, and there's a couple of books that I haven't finished, but nearly. Too many other things, and it's like, no, it's no different to what you're getting on here, but writing is not how I enjoy doing things. But you're rising, okay, that's how, okay, that's how we see you, okay? We're meeting you as a Taurian. And you might go, what? Can't you tell I'm a Sagittarius? No, I'm Cancerian, but you're not really meeting that, okay? I have a Leo moon, and so I'm very comfortable being here doing this. I'm shy like a Cancerian, and so I don't get too big for my britches. It's like everything I do, there's a lesson of I could do better, or, how does it feel? So I'm navigating it like a Cancerian. I'm not bossy. I don't like arguments. I don't like confrontation. I don't like anything like that. Walk away, I'll walk sideways like the crab. So that's how I go about things, and that's how I learn. It's soulful for me to actually learn. But the Leo side of me is very comfortable. The moon is where I'm comfortable. Leo's side of me is there. But my rising is Scorpio. And so that's where I have to go deep, 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 deep. Gotta find the pieces of the puzzle. What's the puzzle? How does it all come together? Now, that's how I go about things. You don't have the traits of a Sagittarius, but you do. And where it's coming out, we need to look at what house. I will have a look at your chart for you, and we'll find out what house it's in, because it's not just Saggy. It can be one of 12 houses where it comes up. And then we can look at the degrees and. So we'll do that. Passionate Saggy, you and I will actually have a little sort of astrology session, okay? And it will help you. No, you are, because Sagittarius is all about education, and you're educating yourself. So whether you think you are or not, it's taking that side, okay? And so you're comfortable in climbing that mountain, but the Taurian side of you, as in, is who we meet. And that is, Taurians, when they've got an ascendant, they're just happy to be alive. They're good with it all. And people say, oh, it's all about this, it's all about that. They're usually, I got up this morning, so it's a good day. I'm alive. And that's who we meet. Somebody that's very genuinely quite humble. So you've got a beautiful cast of characters there, just in those three, and there's so much more going on there. But they're the three that will help you understand. And as I said, so people don't look at me as a Cancerian, they probably look at me as a Scorpio. Yeah, many, many traits. Absolutely. Okay, so let's have a little look at some key. Now look what we've got. We were talking about astrology, and this is what I was saying. Have a look at this. We've got pet astrology. Why? because here's my 2 of my 11, yeah, Jack and Jill, and there's the sign for Pisces. Again, I have a blog on there all about this astrology, and really it's about being the way that they are, and they're so different even though they're minutes apart. So again, if you have a look at that, why are they so different? And you know, I was so fascinated about learning about why they all behave the way they do and how it's so different, that I wrote a blog about it based on having a look at a natal chart, and in my exploration of digging deeper with astrology and wanting to be an astrologer, eventually climbing that mountain as we were talking about, that I wanted to actually know why they were so very different. And so there's a blog on there, and if you've got a little pooch or a cat, you know, seriously, go and have a look. And here's the other one, that they're all the same age, a couple of weeks apart. Minnie is not from the same litter, but I know that she's a Taurian. She was rescued, and she's very different. So it's, if you know, what are they trying to tell you? So I've got about 15 blogs coming out all on astrology, and I thought it's quite nice that I love animals, and so that's what I wanted to actually do. So yeah, I can do a natal chart for your pet, all right? And we can understand them more. It's really quite easy, you know, to actually sort of read it through and kind of go, yeah, got it. That's them. That's why they are like they are. It's fascinating. And the reason I like to talk so much about astrology is if you know the components of astrology, it helps you put the pieces of the puzzle together so that you go, that's why I'm guarded, that's why I'm nervous, that's why I'm this. You know, you haven't got it. If you had got possibly, you know, Capricorn, maybe as your rising, or Sagittarius, could be a very different story. But what we meet is more of our rising sign, despite the fact that we all know our own sun signs. And the difficulty is, of course, not everybody knows what time they were born, and so it changes so quickly in the sky. So your ascendant, you know, if you've got a good astrologer, if you don't know the time you're born, seriously, you can still figure it out. It might take a bit of doing, but you could get there. Same if you have, like, Minnie's a rescue dog, and I know she's a Taurian, and that's because of her age, but also, my goodness me, she's just happy. She's happy, she's stubborn like a Taurian, you know, but everything's good. You know, she gets up in the morning, she's happy, she's delighted. You know, the Astro twins, Jack and Jill, a bit different. And yeah, there are others, but I focused on them because it's like they're different personalities being sort of, they're now two. You can imagine we've been seeing this development of their personalities and why they do what they do. Fascinating. So, that was my little sort of bonus. But the reason, if you know astrology with your cards, you can go, you know what, let's say you pull out the moon card. You think, I don't know Pisces, but you might have read my blog about Jack and Jill, who are Pisces, and it's enough for you to actually form something in your mind and go, they're a bit like that, they're a bit like that, you know? And the more we know about the astrology side, that's where you can really go to town, because you can really focus on those personality traits, which is where all the pieces of the puzzle come together, as well as what I'm giving you here. And you've got all this information, so I'll never remember it. Nobody asked you to. Don't need to be an expert. But there'll be times when pieces of the puzzle come to you. So don't forget that the Eight of Swords is associated with being a victim in our mentality. We're not, but we surrender our power to the external thing and become trapped and limited. And we think, oh, you know, maybe it's not my fault, and I didn't mean to be here. I've come against my will. You know, someone can rescue me. But you know what? We usually take back our own power and kind of go into a place of acceptance, don't we? And so, you know, we do have choices, even though we might not like them. We're not powerless. You know, if you're not making headway with your tarot, for example, keep reading, add more, learn about numbers, learn about the colours, learn about the symbology, look at the figure. You know, another thing I often do, and people are like, oh, what? Really? If a card, all the cards I've done like this, but it's up to you, try and put yourself in the position of the figure's pose in the card. See what you feel. What's your intuition telling you? When you're stunned like that, what are you feeling? Boom, straight away. That's something where that card's really speaking to you. But educationally, you know, if you know that, all of what I'm saying about your intuition, your psychic ability, the numerology, it'll all come flying in. You'll be like nobody else, because it will be absolutely, you know, a blueprint of you, completely authentic. And that is when you are confident, because you're not measuring up to anything and anyone other than honouring what you know, and what you know your limit is. No, I don't do mediumship, or I do mediumship, whichever it is, or no, I don't do numerology, or no, I don't do astrology, or whatever it is, or no, I don't consider myself actually to be intuitive. Whatever it is you want to say, you are allowed to say, that's it. It's like, you know, there are certain shops that only sell coats. I haven't got a pair of shoes in there or boots. That's it. They're probably coats, not jackets, not hoodies, not blazers. Do you see? And that's you. And that is what I'm trying to say. If you know that, you can only do that if you know enough to actually say, I've got to grow, I've got to know more. And that is what the courses are about. So, you know, it's often much more clear-cut, the solution, when we actually come to making that very difficult decision. And that's when we're empowering ourselves. And so the trouble is that we worry about either option, and that's what leads to the negative consequences. Remember, either option, going back to Two of Swords. So if we don't deal with that, we just remain stuck. So the card just says, you know, just go for it. Trust yourself. If it was a career reading, the Eight of Swords indicates that you have a limited or restricted perspective of your career. And you need to catch yourself thinking outside of the box instead of inside of the box. Ask yourself, do you adhere to the outdated approaches because that's how it's always been done? A bit like me saying, oh, you know what, I'm comparing myself to, you know, that psychic medium at that fair, and she was this, and she so had that, and it was all natural, and, you know, I want to be like that. But you're not her. So don't restrict yourself, and it's good to have somebody in mind, all right? I had somebody in mind when I did it, and it was definitely not the 80s sort of psychic fairs and mind, body and spirit sort of gurus that were around, and they were calling themselves gurus, and they had to dress in a certain way. And I would say that because they were saying, this is my psychic protection outfit. And I think, okay, you know, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it because you do it, but and asking me to. But while I was considering how I was going to do things. And so it was like, okay, I didn't set out to do it full time. I just wanted to develop. And then it was like, what more can I do with that? And it organically came together just by putting things that I thought, this has got to be shared. I've got to write it down, I've got to make it. So I came up with software, as in back in 2000. It became a game. When I say that, it was computer, where you were able to actually fan out the cards and select your card, and you really were doing it. And then there was every combination on there that was able to give you the 2-card reading of what the major card and the minor card meant. And I think the amount of individual sort of examples of that, I think it's 1,256, if I remember rightly. I recorded them all. It took me 2 years. I developed a deck so that the game would be using my images, so they weren't copyrighted. So I went down that. It was a pip deck, because I ran out of money being able to actually pay the artist and the graphic designer. Printing wasn't so bad. But then trying to get tarot cards, I said, no, we don't want that. Who are you? You know, you live and learn. But I've still got them, and wasn't really about intentionally making an attack. It was really for copyright, and I happen to know, it's who you know, isn't it? A printer that just said, come on, let's do a physical deck. I'll only charge you this, and then you'll have them. You won't regret it. And she was right. So, you know, I did. So that led to that. But yeah, if I'd compared myself to those people, which I was doing, we do have, I'm going to have to stick to my day job. I'm never going to be able to do this. But I just carried on and on and on. And even while I was training with people that would come in and then give them readings, as in we worked in pairs. So back in the day, sitting next to my tarot buddy, and we'd be going like that, looking at the cards. What have you got? And the teacher going, more? What have you missed? That. It was fabulous. And we did that for years, and we did that twice a week, 2-3 hours a night, and we did it for years. And it was the best training you could have ever had, because the public used to come in for free readings under the guidance of 2 students, so you got 2 for the price of 1, i.e. they weren't paying, and you got the teacher. We were paying the teacher to see if we were getting it right. So it was a great system, worked perfectly. But the clients used to say, how can I get hold of you? I want you, but you won't let me. And I'd say, what? And they'd say, how can I get hold of you? You know, teacher would be like frowning, don't you dare. And I'd say, I can't really do that, can I? So they figured out as I came out to wait for me. And then they saw that I'd get in my car, which had my L plate on top, because we had a fleet of driving school, particularly for females. And we were called Lady Drive, and it was like, that's how I get hold of her. I just go for Lady Drive in the Yellow Pages, and I'll ask for a tarot reading. So, you know, I was very flattered by that. I got a lot, and that's how I started. Believe it or not, my student, I was the student, and my guinea pigs, if you like, the general public, were actually saying, I want more, and the teacher would go, no, you go into that one now. You've had your free one. No, Anne-Marie and Sharon, you know, this is what you're going to do. You're going to do this person. So it's like we've got no way of looking at it. But it was great. And so it's when I went off and wrote everything down that I'd learned. I kept making notes, journaling all the way. And so, yeah, I was like, I'll do this. Why? Because those combinations, I wanted to kind of keep them. So I voice recorded them for this game, this digital game, way back. And yeah, I made a deck, and then it was like, went looking as in who might like to actually work with me with this psychic game that I had. And it was like, actually, we're going to put that towards, found a company, and they went, we really like you, and yeah, we haven't got anything like this, and we want you to actually tell us what to do, and we'll put the money behind you, and off you go. And we started, and I thought, oh, gosh, I got my day job, and I did it in the evenings and weekends for clients because I was working with the driving. Very difficult to fit everything in. But what happened was, it was the 3rd of January, and we put an advert in Fate and Fortune magazine, and unfortunately, I didn't have the staff. It was me and another girl and her daughter, and the phone was ringing off the hook, and that was it. I was then going to psychic fairs and going, does anybody want to come and work with me? I've got this and I can't cope, I need around this. And what it was doing was, we were able to actually get people that lived worldwide, which worked really well because we were 24/7 premium tarot lines, obviously messaging service, email service, all of that, but we went on to do that later. But yeah, it was great because we had the Americans kind of doing what's UK time at night. We had Australians doing another time because their day is different to our day by whatever, and that's kind of where it was. And it was like they were going, oh my gosh, they're asking this, they're asking that, I don't know how to answer. So once I'd finished doing my readings, it would be a case of being able to provide the support to the readers. And so yeah, I did that for a long time, and I had to give up the day job because the tarot just became so popular that even though the money was better on the other one at the time, it was like I had to make that choice, and it wasn't an easy choice because my imposter syndrome was saying, gosh, you've got a perfectly good career. Why are you doing this? This is your hobby, and you've always charged for it because it's my time, and it's not my time in the reading. Get that one straight. It is the time that you have spent gaining that knowledge. That's what your client's paying for. And so if you've done that well, they'll see it immediately. So don't doubt yourself, okay? 8 of Swords is all about, imposter syndrome, being restricted. Think of it like that. You'll never forget it because I went through it, still do. Feel like that here on YouTube, Don't forget I was on YouTube way back in the day, right when it started, because the guys that I was working with said, come on, Anne-Marie, you've got to make a DVD, and we think it should be about how you teach tarot. It's totally unique. We know nothing, but we know none of the others read like you, so you're busy, and they're waiting for the phone to ring sometimes, but you're busy all the time, so there's got to be something in what you're doing. I said, okay. So we made a DVD, put it on YouTube, and then we went and did lives, that's it. And we go, right, we'll do some free readings because we bring some new people in, me on my own, or me and Fiona, and we just do an hour and answer the questions to our existing customers that came in. It's nice to see us, that's in on screen, as it were, So, yeah, I have had those fears exactly like that. But perhaps the little Scorpio rising sort of says, but it's about being able to have got that knowledge, dig for that knowledge. And by having that knowledge, I'm able to say, this needs to be shared, you know, and here I come. If you want it, it's here. You don't have to go digging. You know, I would have loved to have found it. Hello. Hi. How are you? Thank you for saying hi. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I love Kyoto. Oh, wonderful. Any questions so far, anybody? You see what I mean about astrology, how much it can help you. If you know what's making you tick and you know those traits and it starts to make sense, when you see a card and you've got Temperance and it's Sagittarius, it's about mixing and blending and, you know, strengthening what you've got. Think of the Temperance card, which is Sagittarius, says those points of, well, I've got the tarot, now I'm getting the astrology and I'm learning, I'm combining that and I'm creating something bigger. So you really are, you know, like Sagittarius, as in, because it's all about the learning. But you're comfortable doing it, going, I'm light, let go, going up the mountain, I'm not there yet, I wonder how far I could go. But the way in which we meet you is, you're so easygoing, that Turian sort of rising. It's very grounded, it's very humble, it's very kind. You know, you're somebody you're very genuine, sort of. You know, I know people think Turians are stubborn, but they're not. They are. You know, they kind of go, no, I don't need anything else. No, thank you. That is what Turian will say. Oh, do you want to come and play? No, thank you. I love being at home. I'm really happy with my family. And if you ask again, they'll go, no, thank you. And that's where you'll think they're stubborn, because you're not getting the answer you want. If it's a financial reading, this can actually say, oh gosh, you know what? We're probably at the mercy of our debt or our controls of how we're sort of saving or spending our money. And if you're feeling that you know you're trapped and uncertain how to get out, then you've got to do something and go, right, I don't know, but a financial planner or a debt counsellor is going to have a different perspective. If we were looking at the Eight of Swords as a personality, the Eight of Swords and a personality likes to portray themselves as, anyone guess what I'm going to say? Go on, I'll give you a second. Anybody guess? No? They'll come up as a victim. Trapped, restricted, by lots of reasons that they presume is completely out of their control. But, you know, if you say, oh, you know, I'm not very good at what I'm doing. If you're learning, you're better than you were this morning or yesterday or last week if you are doing the work. You see what I'm saying? That's how it is. So it's forgetting about the fact that, you know, if we've got personality type, the Eight of Swords, that person is going to struggle to see the way out of a problem or a problematic situation. And they avoid taking responsibility or accountability. If you take accountability, you're back in control. And that's what they don't do. So they're reluctant to listen to other people and to the advice. They prefer to project a sense of powerlessness and an inability to change the current situation. So that's what an Eight of Swords sort of character looks like. It can be very frustrating for those who are much more action orientated, especially if, you know, you are somebody that takes personal accountability for your life. It can be incredibly hard to be around. So our last one, relationships and love with this card, just on its own. You know, if the Eight of Swords comes up, it's probably telling you that you're confining yourself to a certain type of partner or relationship. So you need to actually not niche down so much and maybe reset that list and don't put yourself in a corner by it's got to be this, it's got to be that. You know, are you looking at unrealistic expectations? And it's just set yourself up for failure because it's what you think you want instead of actually, it'd be really nice to actually be with somebody who's like-minded that I'm comfortable with. So it's one of those things. Yeah. Oh, really? This is a situation at your workplace. Ah, that must be pretty hard. Yeah. And, you know, if you are somebody that's not like that and you go, you know what, it is what it is, but I'm not trapped and this is what I'm doing about it. And, you know, it can be very difficult to be in a workplace where you've got that victim sort of mentality around in that persona of a person. You know, they can also be, I don't know, it can affect you as in you can see it in everything that they do and you think, oh, gosh, I can't escape from this, you know. It's really, really difficult to be around that kind of character. Spiritually speaking, if this comes up, if it comes up in the spiritual part of your reading, as in the position of the spiritual self, it can suggest that you're trapped in the way you're thinking, particularly regarding your spiritual beliefs. Again, you know, my family did it for me in that respect. Oh, you're not supposed to be looking at that in our faith, you know. And I'd go, I don't see it's any different. It's an extension, it's just different. And it's not different as in, because it's not a prediction. It's actually really, we think it is, but it's not. It's based on the current situation. Let's have a look at what the cards are saying about what's going on. Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, that's right. So when we choose to just see what we want to see, we gain perspective that's completely impartial advice coming from your subconscious. And that's how a tarot reading works. Gosh, we've gone on and on and on tonight, haven't we? So we need to be very mindful of the ideas that we're internalizing and how they can impact upon the way we are thinking. All right. Another one, well-being, last bit. So if somebody's asking about their well-being and you've got the Eight of Swords and they like to say health, and you know what we say, sorry, can't look at health for you, but I can look at your well-being. So if the Eight of Swords comes up in such a question, it points towards the mind and the body connection. So it's probably about whether or not your thoughts and expectations are having an impact upon, you know, your physical health. Because if you're filled with anxiety and you're feeling victimized, or you feel that, you know, you're limited or restricted, it's going to play havoc, isn't it, with your physical health, you see? So taking the stress down and the negative patterns down and reprogramming yourself for more of a positive impact, like, you know, there's all sorts of therapy, isn't there, where I say to people it's about looking at things from a different angle in your thinking. So, you know, it's important that we've got a few ideas about what this card could be telling us just as a single card. So it's a difficult one. You know, it's one of those cards where it's like, got to get the skeletons out of the closet. We need a good old spring clean and have a little bit of a freshen up, and not to let go of old patterns of behaviour. And yes, we've got to think of it in the positive side. Hi Kyla, I think I'll be off for my dinner soon. It's getting late. But it's been so nice, and it's a difficult card, but it's nice to sort of say, you know, this is why I'm saying to you, everything I show you isn't about, it's all connected. Can you see why I'm doing the pet astrology? Because hopefully there'll be people that find us that have, you know, Oh, I love your feedback. Thank you so much. I I love Kyoto. Jump onto the YouTube channel. And the reason I'm saying that is I find it very hard for people to find me through the Facebook or through Twitch, because it's not always, if you're enjoying this, go and find everything. It's all in YouTube. Okay, you might go, why did she say that? Because how many times have you been on Facebook looking for something you've seen and you can't find it again? You can on YouTube. It's simple, you know? So if you subscribe, you'll get notified and then you won't forget. And if you do, it'll pop up, won't it? And go, you know what? There's a playlist there, there's a podcast there, there's a lesson there, there's a tutorial there. And you can watch it when you want. But I can't teach you how to be a reader just on my YouTube channel. I can only give you the support here. So I'd like you to see it like that. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much indeed. I very much appreciate it. Lovely to have you along. But it's really, I don't want anyone to feel restricted, because I know what it's like and I know how crippling it can be. And, you know, it's also important that there are situations where it's just not the right time. And we have to, accept that, despite, might say, oh, I'm restricting myself. But maybe if you haven't got the time to study, you could be realistic about that. But what you could do is actually just touch your cards and kind of look at them and go, who do I know that's like that? So, I love Kyoto. You might think of what I talked about when I talked about your workplace when you see this card. Passionate Saggy saying, she's her own worst enemy. I'm saying, for me, this comes up for me when I'm feeling imposter syndrome, when I feel uncomfortable, And so the astrology side of that, again, it's how a Cancerian won't come on, the Cancerian moon and feel comfortable about doing YouTube. I'm waiting for people to go, you've only got so many viewers and only this, and you've been going all this time. Yeah, because I've niched it right down. When I first began this channel, if you remember, there was like 200 people a night all wanting a free reading. That's why they were there. And it was like, I'd confuse them by saying, look at the method I use. You can learn this. I'm teaching it on Saturday. Saturday morning, 5, 6 people. That was it. Oh, you're doing readings now, right? Bye. So, okay, I demonstrated how, and you can look at my videos as in on relationships or the elements. I focused on that, so that if you're fire and they're water, what does it mean? Did videos like that, and they did very well. But the main thing really is I do have enough clients to read for. I have done all of that and I'm still doing that, but I'm passionate about sharing how to do this, hence why I'm back doing this, because this is where I really, really enjoy being. As much. Why? Because when you're doing a reading and you enjoy it, and it's very much, your client enjoys it, it's wonderful, isn't it? But it's wonderful when you're able to share it, okay? So, bye everybody. I'm going to play you out. And thank you, everybody that's joined us tonight. Do put your comments up there, as in you can always leave a message for me on YouTube. So I'll see you on Tuesday. Absolute pleasure. Thank you too. I love it. It's what it's about. It's what it's about. Go and have a look. So much fun and fascinating. Bye. Time for me to go. Thank you. Bye-bye.